Let's start with the Telegraph then, because it's quite remarkable, isn't it? Dyche in frame for Forest. Jonathan, how have we got there already? I think we're only 7 games in.
I know. I mean, it feels sometimes like we're living fast forward in football these days. It is 7 games in, about a month. And yet it's not the biggest surprise. First of all, because we're talking about Marinakis and Forest. And secondly, just because Ange's reign has gone so badly, really. Not just in terms of not getting results, but he hasn't connected with the fans. We've already seen sort of protests after the Midtjylland game. It's a fascinating story when you know, you got John Percy and Sam Wallace writing about Forest. You know it's going to be really well sourced. I asked myself as a journalist, why is the story even being sort of floated out there? You know, you wonder if this is something that the ownership would like the fans to know, that we're already... I mean, West Ham do this trick all the time. When the fans are unhappy, there's always a story about so-and-so's got 3 games to save themselves. So I wonder if this is partly to appease the fans. But if you look at the detail, I mean, they're looking at people like Marco Silva.
Would cost a pretty penny, wouldn't he, I think?
Would cost a pretty penny, yeah. Yep. Steve Cooper, there was even interest in bringing him back. And it seems that Sean Dyche is the front runner if they change from Ange. There's a lot of reasons that makes sense. I mean, he's available. He's got the connection to the club, having been a youth player. Steve Stone and Ian Woan as assistants are kind of semi-Forest legends. He lives locally, but bigger than all of that, you know, he's almost become that latter-day, I don't know, Sam Allardyce Pardew figure that a Premier League club struggling looks and can bring in, knowing that he knows his way around the league. He's got a way of playing that's going to make you hard to beat, going to guarantee results. So it also says to me that Forest might be a little bit worried about the league position if they want to make the change so quickly, and they're going from let's have Ange and let's play a different type of football back to let's just get some results.
Yes, solidity. Jack, it's remarkable though. I mean, we've witnessed Marinakis berate Nuno Espirito Santo, so he likes to do things publicly. But it's remarkable that we're talking about this so soon, surely.
It is amazing, but then I think that as soon as the Forest fans were singing "Sacked in the Morning,"
yes, it probably didn't help.
At that point, you thought Ange is probably on borrowed time. Like not many managers get out of a situation like that. I think it was always a very, very difficult job for him to take. I mean, going from Nuno to Postecoglou's football is a total 180, and it might have worked if they'd done it in June or July, but to do it in September, mid-season, with no pre-season, no transfer window, and when the team is playing 2 games every week, which means the manager doesn't get time to really coach the players properly, it was always going to be incredibly difficult. It's such a 180, and yet somehow going from Postecoglou to Dyche would be even more of a 180 than going from Nuno to Postecoglou in the first place. So they would effectively be doing 2 consecutive 180s and ending up not quite where they started, but closer to where they started than where they've been for most of September and October.
Charlie, do you feel this is kind of like a bit of, you know, PR from Forest here and sort of saying, actually, we are worried as well, joining in with the fans? What do you think's going on here?
You know, as Jonathan said, I think, you know, if John Percy's written that, so you know it'd be right. And I wouldn't necessarily mean that's a story that, you know, Forest wanted out. Maybe they did, but I think sometimes it's just good journalism. And other than the fact that you know, maybe he's just been handed that, it's just good journalism. He's, you know, found that out from sources. And is it a surprise? No. I felt Postecoglou wasn't the right fit in terms of the bloke that he's working for, and you know, different to Russell Martin at Rangers, but never felt that was the right fit for obvious reasons. And this one, so it's not a surprise, it's going to sort of end in tears quite quickly. I was surprised at the Forest fans sort of, you know, turning on Ange a bit, because they're a pretty sensible bunch, Nottingham Forest supporters. They're not spoiled. They've had some really tough years, and you know, those fans, a lot of them can still remember being in League One. So that did surprise me a bit, but that shows you that something is not right there. And Sean Dyche, if he does go in, will do a good job and will get Forest away from trouble. Absolutely no doubt about that.
Is this really the end for Ange? You've covered him extensively, didn't you, with the Athletic at Spurs. What's gone wrong for Ange Postecoglou at Forest?
I just think... No, I really like him, and I think he's got a very, very distinctive, original style of play. But I think it's always been a bit of a house of cards, and it needs everything to be in place for it to work. You know, he needs a lot of time with the players to get them fit enough to do the running. He needs a pre-season. He needs players who've been brought in who can play his particular brand of football, I think. And I just think, and so I think that in the right circumstances, it can be amazingly entertaining. And we've seen that he's had lots of success, you know, not just winning the Europa League with Tottenham, but all of the success he had with Celtic, and then plenty of other trophies in Japan and Australia and so on. I just think that this was such a hard job for him. This was such a difficult job, and to take it in the middle of the season with no transfer window and no pre-season, it was basically never going to be easy at all.
How will that go down with the Forest fans that are picking up the Sunday Telegraph today? Are they going to be happy the fact that Dyche is in the frame?
I guess they might be. I mean, as Charlie said, that they are a realistic fan base. I don't think the disconnect with Dyche, with Ange is a kind of sign of them being, I don't know, flaky or having ideas above the station. I think it's because they were so wedded to Nuno. And they also had quite a bond with Steve Cooper. So I think they've consecutively had managers that they liked, that they felt had really pushed the club forward, sort of taken away from them. And that's probably caused a lack of faith in the ownership, or a disconnect with the ownership. So Ange could end up being a bit of a sort of sacrifice to keep them happy here, I guess, and a sign that, you know, we are sort of listening. Because surely if you appoint Ange, you're buying, as Jack said, you're buying into a style of play and a management that surely that goes beyond 7 games.
Yeah.
You know, you take a long-term view when you're doing something like that. So to think of changing does rather seem like they're spooked by the reaction to it.
Especially
I imagine a lot of Forest fans might be thinking, well, if we're going to sack Ange and then bring in Sean Dyche, who obviously plays a very physical, compact, competitive, counter-attacking style of play. If we're going to play that football, why did we just sack the guy who was really good at that, who gave us that all the way up until about 6 weeks ago?
It's a good question.
Why have we spent so much money and wasted all this time when we had a bloke who was really, really good at that style of football here until recently?
Yeah. I'm still surprised that Postecoglou took the job. You know, despite all the defeats at Tottenham, his stock was obviously quite high because he's won the trophy. And, you know, if you were going to pick one owner at the moment in that league, or certainly a key owner that was not going to have an awful lot of patience, it's going to be Marinakis. So I just don't know why Postecoglou went in there, really. He could have waited till next summer. And then, you know, as you said, go in, start fresh, get the players that you want in, that fits your style. So, you know, I'm amazed that he took it.
I almost wonder if he was kind of so keen to sort of prove himself and compete again, and kind of get back to work and prove that I'm just not going to be on holiday. I'm not going to go and work in like a lower level league. That he took a job that was probably wrong job, wrong time.
I spoke to someone about Mourinho in this context recently, who said one of Jose's problems had been he just wanted to keep getting back in the ring. So choosing jobs on the rebound almost rather than waiting for the right job, and it does seem like Ange's kind of, you know, you can see there's a fighter in there. So, yeah, he wants to. I think he felt slighted at Spurs and wanted to get back in and prove he can do it and how good he is, and that may have led him to jumping into something that's not the right fit.
Just finally, in terms of the week that we've seen, we've had, you know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe put an arm round Ruben Amorim and tell him that he's potentially got 3 years. Is this kind of like a proof that perhaps some clubs will kind of not necessarily learn that actually changing managers all the time, this constant does kind of lend itself
I still
to...
don't think Amorim will be manager of Manchester United next season. It's all very well. So, I mean, you know, I don't think things are going to change, will ever change. I think, managers are under more pressure than ever, get fired quicker than ever, as we're going to probably see with Postecoglou. But also with Sean Dyche, excellent manager, not given enough credit, I think. And I know things went and moved on at Everton, but he did so well in really, really difficult circumstances there. And I'm glad he's getting another Premier League job,
it'd be nice to see him back,
if not at Forest, somewhere else.
Yeah, he's a good character to have in the Premier League as well, isn't he, Jack?
Yeah, I really like him. He's very direct, he's very straightforward, he has lots of opinions, he's not afraid to say them. And I think that, frankly, the Premier League needs a bit more of that. It can get a bit... Actually, Postecoglou is very good on that front as well. Postecoglou is very opinionated, very thoughtful. You know, people don't always like what he says, but he comes out with opinions and backs them up. But yeah, I do think Dyche adds to the sort of levity of the Premier League.